Welcome back to 365 Unlimited. We are back with another episode. Gannon, Carter, myself. We're going to dive right into this one and get it kicking off with Gannon talking about his waiver wire gems throughout the 2023 NFL season. Guys that have just strictly blown up and have been guys that we have wanted to pick up throughout the year.
I'm gonna have to go with my first one. Then I'm in an 8, a 10, and a 12-man league, so I got kind of different varieties. I'm gonna have two different ones here. One for my 12 league team was Josh Downs. Added him back in September from the Indianapolis Colts. He's been a huge get. My wide receiver room was very low in a 12-man league. When the waiver wire goes down very quickly, he's been a mainstay. Obviously, he just got hurt. He's a little banged up, but he's questionable this coming week coming up. But even with their quarterback changes from Anthony Richardson to Gardner Minshew, like it's been really big. He's been a 1A, he's been a 1B to the 1A of Michael Pittman there with their offensive core and their stuff that they got rolling there. He's been awesome. He's a top 30 wideout right now in fantasy production as a rookie. I think he's been awesome. And then to flip to the 8-man league, I know the wire is a little bit different on there because there's just less people and less roster space. But it's Sam LaPorta was my guy, an Iowa tight end that I picked up, I think, the second or third week. Was big time that he fell that long. I had Darren Waller, who I drafted way too high. I don't know why I did that. But he got banged up, done that too many times before. I'm never drafting him again in fantasy, but that's a whole other note. But Sam LaPorta's been a dog. I think he's been maybe the best tight end in the game this year, other than outside Travis Kelce, which we all kind of agree on that part. But Sam LaPorta's been awesome. He's been a weapon. He's been a valve for Jared Goff. He uses him a lot. He can line up in any places. He can go one-on-one against a DB, linebacker, anybody, win the matchups. I watched him for 4 to 5 years now after all of his time at Iowa. He's a dog, and he just keeps getting better and better. And I think he's top 2 or 3 right now in fantasy production in the tight end category. So that's mine for my 8-man, a little bit different, a little bit bigger name.
Yeah, so you talk about Sam LaPorta and you being a Hawkeye fan and seeing him play for the last couple of years. Like, I mean, I guess for you, what has stuck out in his difference between his college game, his NFL game? Because we know how putrid the Iowa offense is.
It's funny you say that because it's been the quarterback play, like with the offense there. But the offense runs through the tight ends. Like he was our wide receiver one, along with being the tight end one for his years of being in Iowa City, which means he'd line up in the out of the backfield. But everything's run based out of Iowa still with their offense. If you see the strengths with George Kittle with the run blocking abilities there, along with TJ Hawkinson, these will make these guys well-rounded tight ends and make them tight end you out of Iowa because they can do everything and it's based out of the run. But then you get the athlete. Sam LaPorta is different though. He's way shiftier. He's a little bit smaller body built than like TJ Hawkinson. He's even quicker than George Kittle in my opinion. He can get down the field, but he wins one-on-one because he was honed in as the number one target at Iowa, so he was already used to that scheming each week from the defenses going against him on that aspect. So there's no like situation that he hasn't been uncomfortable in because he can go and line up on the line, do run block, help with that safety, and then also go out on the outside and win the matchups and had to be double teamed. Like he was the guy and got the ball 10 to 12 times, at least with targets every single week in Iowa. So like nothing's new for him. And I think his speed was his biggest asset because he could get open. And I remember making comments because my dad watches a lot of the Iowa games. Like he's quick. He could get open at that level, one-on-one routes against good Power 5 competition. You're going to be able to do that if you transcend to the next level. Already having the discipline and the consistency being Iowa in that program with the run game.
Yeah, no, I agree with absolutely everything you said about LaPorta. LaPorta is a stud tight end and will be.
He's the best out of all of them. Like
yeah, hands down, hands down. Like he's already
Musgrave could be up there if you used him properly.
True, but he's raw. He didn't have the reps. Like LaPorta was day in day out the guy. Like that's the difference. And it's again, I still think it sucks Iowa being in the now with the college game of being so run heavy, but their schematics and everything that they're taught and learning their foundations before they go beat the athlete and go on the outside and run the routes and do all that stuff, which is all going to come second nature to them. But to have that fundamentals built on that level of the game, I think is really beneficial.
Yeah, my number one guy, I mean, waiver wire across the board. I mean, he was added like after week 1, week 2. Puka Nacua. Carter, give me your thoughts on Puka.
Dude, Puka's a stud. Like, he came out of absolutely nowhere. Like, even when I was doing those preseason, like, watching those shows about, like, up-and-coming fantasy people, like, I didn't even hear anyone talk about him, honestly. Like, maybe someone did, but he came out of nowhere. What, in the first 2-3 weeks, he had, like, the most receptions out of, like, anybody? I mean, he's a rookie. And even with Cooper Kupp coming back, you still see him getting production. So I think moving forward, that's huge for them. I mean, having that could be close to the number one duo in a year or two with him and Cooper Kupp. So I think he was a great pickup, especially if you got him early. And then too, you can use that for trade bait, obviously. When a player starts, I mean, I'm in a 16 league or 16-man league, so it's a little bit different.
That's very different.
It's very different. And
That
that's
seems
why
impossible to win.
It's very hard to win, and you need someone like that that you can bait and you can get another player or fix a weak spot having a guy like that. So I think I agree 100%.
Yeah, no, I think when it comes to Puka, like eerily similar traits to what Cooper Kupp possesses, right? Like they're two different receivers. I think they do two different type of things. Like Cooper Kupp's more of he's going to win the route running battle pretty much almost every time. He is a route running guru. Whereas I saw a clip the other day, like it's pretty evident that Puka Nacua's footwork is nowhere near what Cooper Kupp is, which I understand that. We get that. Kupp is arguably a top 5, top 6 wide receiver across the game and has been for years, minus the injury-riddled seasons. But Puka Nacua, he's getting there. Like he's getting to that point where it's like, okay, you can rely on him consistently in a fantasy matchup.
Mm-hmm.
He's the type of guy that can win you a league. I'm not in no way gonna sit here and compare him to Cooper Kupp and what Kupp does, because Kupp's different. Like he's a different receiver, but they do possess eerily similar traits when it comes to just being possessing catchers, guys that are gonna catch the ball. They don't drop the football. They find a way to get open. They win after the catch, get you extra yards. They keep pushing the ball down the field, and it's in a McVay offense. It's a friendly offense for wide receivers, so that benefits as well. I think another guy who stuck out to me immediately, and I couldn't have seen this one coming either. And like, I'm curious, Boons, you're a Notre Dame fan, so talk to me, both of you. What's going on? How did Kyren Williams come out of nowhere in that Los Angeles Rams offense as well? Shifting gears from one Ram to another. I mean, we had Akers in there for a couple of years. Darrell Henderson.
Who's not looking awful with Minnesota right now also.
No, he's not.
He scored last week against your Green Bay.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Cam Akers did. I mean, I think when you brought up Notre Dame, something that came into my mind was that Michael Mayer, tight end from Las Vegas. Like, he was one of the top projected tight ends this year coming in the draft. And I'm disappointed he's with the Raiders because they're just a complete mess right now. So I would have liked to see him somewhere else. I know that's a little bit different than what you brought up, but he's like a Gronk almost. Like, he's kind of like a true tight end, like a good blocker. At Notre Dame, he was an excellent blocker. He was probably better than Cole Kmet when he was at Notre Dame. So Notre Dame's got those scrappy guys that kind of come out of nowhere, especially at running back. We produce kind of those. I mean, look who we have now. I mean, he's just like built like Maurice Jones-Drew, those types of running backs. And I know Kyren Williams is a little bit different, but he's fitting in really good with that Rams offense.
Yeah. I think on top of it too, it's like, I don't know if you guys noticed this trend or not, but like outside of offensive linemen, maybe some D linemen, linebacker type players, Notre Dame players that get drafted to the league or sign as undrafted free agents, they don't really tend to blossom until year 3, year 4. Like, it's a weird trend that I've noticed. Like, even a guy like Cole Kmet with Chicago, like this past season and a little bit of this season, you've started to see him blossom and grow into an actual role within the offense where you want to keep him around. But you don't necessarily always see Notre Dame guys blossom immediately in year 1. Like, even when they drafted Manti Te'o, like, he never obviously panned out to be anything that we nearly expected him to be. But there
offensive lineman is a different.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's like Gannon said, tight end U for Iowa. Like Notre Dame, Iowa, like those type of schools are also O-line U. Like, it's, you know what you're getting out of those type of schools. Like, you're gonna get O-linemen, you're gonna get tight ends, you're gonna get blue collared, chippy, run the football type guys, and that's what you've seen. And no, it's been interesting for me when it comes to Kyren Williams. But I want to throw another name out there. Rashid Shaheed,
Yeah.
another guy who's been a waiver wire gem as well, and has really, really blossomed with the Saints. And not only is he a deep threat guy, but he just catches the football and makes plays. I don't necessarily like this comparison, but he's kind of caught my eye as a guy who kind of came out of nowhere for a season or two and was that deep threat, catch the ball over the top of the safety and beat him just with his speed. I think he's quite a bit different, but just what I've seen, like you sit here and watch Red Zone on Sunday, and like it seems like Rashid Shaheed is catching a 45-yard, 60-yard touchdown week in and week out. And who did that back when I was younger? Robbie Anderson. Like that's who Robbie Anderson was a guy who was just going to catch it over the safety, take it to the crib, and just beat you with his speed. What do you guys see in Shaheed's game?
They air it out to him, man. Like I don't know if this was right, but I heard a stat that they like average the most deep balls or something in the league. I don't know if that's true.
They
But
probably
they
do.
take
Derek Carr's got a cannon.
they take shots, and I mean, plus with Chris Olave there, who is on my fantasy team, who's been
Struggling.
not the greatest, but I mean, them two, plus with Kamara coming back, I mean, they're a decent team.
They are.
The Saints have always struggled, I feel like, down as you get closer to the end of the season. But Shaheed, I mean, every game, like you said, it's on red zone. He's scoring like a 65-yard touchdown, or he's running
It's
for
weird, man.
like
It's weird.
he's just been like that deep threat for them.
Yes.
And if Carr can get it to him, which
Like they got
depends on the day.
a sneaky good offense, man. Like I mean, yeah, it depends on the day with Derek Carr, 100%. But Michael Thomas has been there with the Saints this whole season.
Consistent.
We've seen him consistently on the field this season, which all the blessings to him. I'm glad that he's back and he's won a lot of battles against DBs this season. But Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed. I keep saying his name wrong. Derek Carr, and then a return of Alvin Kamara. Like they got an offense. They got threats. Like it's there with the Saints. I think it's
Jamal Williams has been hurt, right? I think he's out.
And he's another guy that perfectly complements Alvin Kamara, I think, when healthy. Like I don't think Jamal's really had a good year with, like you said, the injuries, but I don't know. It'll be
What's
interesting.
your guys' biggest disappointments so far this year?
Player-wise?
On a couple guys. Fantasy-wise.
Yeah, I think for me immediately, you guys will laugh, but I drafted Najee Harris relatively super early in fantasy this season. And to say he's been a disappointment is an understatement. I would say he's been a major disappointment. I mean, I think we saw the writing on the wall.
It looks better, bro. This last week, it looked better.
It's improving. He's had, like, the last 2 out of 3 weeks, he's had a quality game. He's gotten into the end zone. And I kick myself in the foot when stuff like that happens because you're like, shit, he could have been a flex. Like, he could have been a flex play this week. But for Najee, yeah, I mean, we saw some of the writing on the wall last season with the way he kind of has taken a step back a little bit. The burst isn't necessarily there as much for him anymore. The horizontal cuts, just the ability to get the football upfield. It just seems like everything's a tad slower. And Jaylen Warren's a stud. I mean, they need to get the football to him more, and I think we'll continually see that as their season progresses. And just to talk about the Steelers for a minute, how the hell are they 5-3? How are they a team? I mean, Mike Tomlin is the answer, but
yeah, 100%.
They got stud defense. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. If they limit turnovers on the offensive side of the ball, they got enough weapons. If they can get that run game established, Pickett can make enough throws with the weapons he has. I mean, there's enough guys there. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, like they're not a bad team.
Happen.
I mean, that's shaping up to be one of the, if not the best division in football right now, in my opinion.
Well, it just can't happen.
Top to bottom,
like this past week, it just can't happen where George Pickens ends the game with -1 yards. Like that can't happen, and you still win the game is insane.
Yeah.
Well, Deontay Johnson stepped up too and had a pretty good.
He had a monster game.
He got in the end zone finally.
That was a sloppy Thursday night just style.
It was bad, but
slugfest. It's either hit or miss with Thursday nights.
Yeah, I think Thursday night's terrible.
I think another player, as far as disappointment goes, which I don't think he's been a major disappointment, I just think I had held him to a higher standard than what I've seen this year. And for me, that's James Cook. I think it's a guy who, going into the season, I don't necessarily think we said, "Oh, this is going to be he's going to be his brother Dalvin Cook," because they're two different type of runners. You could when Dalvin was in his prime, he was a fast guy. Like he was going to have big games, 100-yard rushing games. Cook's your more receiving back prototype who can still run between the trenches pretty well. But I made a trade for him early on in the season. I shipped out David Montgomery and Odell, and in return I got James Cook and figured, okay, this is going to be a quality RB2. And he's had his weeks, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't call him a major disappointment. I just wish you could get more out of him. And I don't think that's James Cook's fault. I think it's Buffalo's inability to utilize him when it comes near the red zone. They don't like to give him the football when it's third downs, when it's red zone time. They give the ball to Latavius Murray, and then they just signed Leonard Fournette. It's like, when are they going to give James Cook the true RB1 status and let him just see what they can cook with? Like, I don't understand that fully. Maybe he's not an RB1, but in my eyes, at least give him a chance.
It's some hindrance just having Josh Allen there. That's going to be.
It is. You're going to throw the ball.
Yeah, and you're always going to be having that question, the what if with the carries and attempts, in my opinion. What do you got, Budens?
So I'll first start off of my team, who I draft. So Olave, like I said, he was a pretty high pick for me because, like I said, in the 16-man league,
you got to hit early.
You gotta and they go quick. So I was at I think I picked 7 or 8. So I had Olave coming back second or third round because by that time everyone's starting to get off the board. So I got him because he balled last year. I'm not seeing a whole lot. And then I traded for Devontae Smith, and he's been up and down. I mean, he had an okay game against who they play, Washington, I think. But he hasn't – I mean, A.J. Brown now is starting to resurrect himself. In the beginning of the game, beginning of the year, he didn't have a great.
I don't even think that was him though. I think that was the offense in Philly in general.
True.
Well, I'm talking fantasy numbers.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
I just think it took a little bit for him to get going because of their offense.
100%. And then a guy for me who I want to like, and he's done pretty good for me, but it's up in the air, is Kenneth Walker. He scores a touchdown every game. He'll have one touchdown and 55 yards.
I really think the pairing of him and Zach Charbonnet is awesome.
I do too. I really like the run game. They use Zach Charbonnet. He'll come in.
He's a freaking bowling ball.
When they're down in the red zone, bro, they have Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
They do interchange those guys. I really like that duo, but that's kind of a disappointment I've seen, at least with my team, with with the receiving core, with Olave and Devontae Smith. It's just they're averaging 8 points a game. Olave will give me 0.5 one week, and in half PPR, you can't win like that. And I happen to have an okay record, but I really thought Olave was going to come out kind of like he did last year. I mean, what was he, offensive rookie of the year?
Dude, Olave was a dog. Speak on that. What's going on with Chris Olave? Is it him? Is it him struggling, or is it Derek Carr? Because Rashid Shaheed is playing great with Derek Carr.
It's anybody that's catching balls for Derek Carr at the end of the day.
I think so because, bro, you got to think of the receivers they have there now. I mean, they got Shaheed, they got Olave, they got Michael Thomas. Yeah. There's a lot of room for a guy who's got talent to come in at that third spot, because he really is coming in. I mean, Michael Thomas and Olave are 1 and 2 interchangeable, I think. And Shaheed's kind of came in that back door and kind of comes out of nowhere a little bit, kind of like Tyler Boyd, but not to the same extent.
That's actually a really good comparison, though. Tyler Boyd is a really good comparison to what Shaheed's capable of doing.
Because he's that third dude. I mean,
he's that guy that's undervalued.
Higgins has been a big disappointment.
Tyler Boyd's better than Shaheed, though.
Oh, yeah. No, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. But But it is a good comparison, wide receiver 3-wise. Like, them guys that are undervalued, underlooked. And, of course, with Tyler Boyd, you're going to be
God, I
undervalued,
just want to see him
underlooked.
somewhere else.
No, I
Tyler
talk about
Boyd.
someone I want to
Oh
see
my
somewhere
God.
else. I want to see T. Higgins somewhere else. I want T. Higgins to go be a 1 somewhere. Like
Well, I
if
know
the
there was talk of the Bears getting him last year.
That's what I'm saying. If you wouldn't have pulled the trigger on DJ Moore, like, that's a dog. Like,
Yeah.
T. Higgins is a dog, dude. He's had an injury riddled
But they
season
haven't,
this year
man,
as
he has
well.
not had a great season,
No, he just
you
hasn't. But
know?
it's tough, dude. Like you said, when it comes to like Boyd being their 3, like
Mm-hmm.
Boyd's had some solid weeks, and obviously you want to like. I think the main reason why we've seen a guy like Higgins struggle this year when he's on the field and not injured, I think is probably because of such a slow start for Cincinnati that their game
Yeah, because
plan.
Burrow was just trying to get his feet settled.
No, he was, and he was injured. But I think what I'm
Yeah.
getting at is like it was such a slow start for Cincinnati that the game plan heading in and week out to get things on the same page had to be Burrow getting the ball to Chase as much as possible, establishing a run game. Mixon's had an okay season, who hasn't really got into the end zone a whole lot, but in
Mm-mm.
order for them to get on the same page, we know the two guys that have to be connecting on all cylinders, and that's Chase and Burrow. Like, I think that's kind of why you've seen Higgins not necessarily be as good, and who's to say that he's really truly healthy? Like he's not been the guy we know who he is to be. But who, if there was one player that you guys didn't draft, and you could go back to draft time,
Oh,
not
easy.
like, who's the player you wish like
Easy.
was on your team? Who do you want right now that you can't have?
I'm going to say this in hindsight before Kirk Cousins getting hurt, and it's Jordan Addison because he's a dog, dude. Like, just watching him firsthand, like throughout the entirety of the game, I found more joy, I think, in watching him win his one-on-one routes than anything else during that Packers game last week, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he had 1 week of 0 where he had like one target, something happened, and then he had like 2 weeks of like 11 points. Everything else has been higher than that. Like, it's the production's been there. Obviously, it's going to go down. I think going to take a short-term hit right now. We'll see if they can get some rhythm with whoever steps in there because they got multiple options in their quarterback room.
Yeah.
But dude, he's electric. The way he lines up in the slot, he can win one-on-one there. He can go to the outside. Like, it's literally a Justin Jefferson mini-me. Like, it's a carbon copy when you see these two. And he's more polished and better route running in some aspects, I think, and cleaner looking than Justin Jefferson on some stuff. I'm not saying he's better and all that.
No, you're
but
not wrong. You're not
dude,
wrong.
he is so crisp when he runs his routes and gets open that Kirk Cousins really just has to give him the ball because he does the work for him. Like, it's different than just pure athleticism. Some guys that go up and grab a ball or just win one-on-ones and throw the ball up and rely on their size and length. Like, the technique on Jordan Addison is thorough. Like, I think it's the best way to put it. Like, it is through and through fun to watch. And like, I was a fan of him before, seeing highlights, seeing clips here and there, but actually sitting down for a full game and watching him play my Packers last week, it's there.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And it's been like, when you have a guy come in and you gotta fill the shoes of Justin Jefferson, who goes down with injury, and you not only step up in that role,
but you have him in your
but you
ear every day,
thrive.
man.
You do, but
You still have him.
he's thrived in that role, and he's already shown he can be a 1. Like, I mean, that's a hot take, but like, he's already proved that Jordan, like, he's going to get into the end zone.
I mean, that's up for the best duo in the league when they're healthy right now. The way that you've seen Addison produce now for almost half of a season.
Yeah. I think it's pretty evident, like, our top 3 rookie receivers across the NFL. At one, you could argue probably Addison. At 2, or 1B, Zay Flowers, and then Josh Downs. I mean, just statistically,
you're
speaking, those 3 guys.
Bro, I drafted Jordan Addison, and he had a couple good weeks, and then I traded him, and I got Devontae Smith and a running back.
Yeah.
Who's the back? Who's the back?
I wanna say it was Devontae Smith and I don't know if it was Gus Edwards or Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert, anyways, on IR, so it's.
I mean, if it was Gus, it's not a horrible deal. I mean, Gus and Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith had a great first couple games, though. Like, he balled. But Jordan Addison's been tough. One of the guys that is not really surprising that he's doing well, but I think I passed on him in my draft is Ettiene.
Yes.
Dog.
He's been just an absolute fantasy. Like if you're playing Ettiene, like I'm playing the guy that has him this week and they're on a bye, so I'm so grateful because he's balling this year.
Yeah.
So like I know that's a guy that's not completely like he did okay last year too. Like
No,
he
but
was
one of
good
those
last
guys
year
that are in that top tier, but now solidified them being top tier.
Yeah, no,
No,
he
he's
is.
definitely top tier.
He's in my top 5 PPR. Top 5 PPR. Like across the board, running back, wide receiver. I have Ettiene at 5. I have Ettiene at 5. He has 7 touchdowns, 583 rushing yards, and 266 receiving yards. Travis Ettiene is a complete back. A complete package at what you want to get.
And he's a stud. And this is what, his second year, I think?
It might
second?
be 3.
Third,
I
think.
3. Because he was
Second
drafted.
or third.
He was drafted. Yeah, no, it's his 3rd because Doug Peterson took over last year, correct?
Yeah.
He took over last year, led them to the playoffs.
He was with Urban.
Yeah,
Urban
it was
year.
Myers' draft pick. It was Urban's draft pick. And that's when, like, I remember back then, like.
It's when James was still there.
Yeah, Robinson was there coming off a good season.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, what was the point of this pick? What was the point of this pick? And yeah, I mean, it's turned into their best pick. I mean, it's a guy who this is the type of running back you pay. Like, this is the guy that is not only going to be a running back, but he is your slot receiver. Like in reality, he's your check down guy. He replaces your flats.
It was prime example when they went up to Pittsburgh and won that game in the rain, crappy conditions. Like he was getting touches. It's a safety valve. Lawrence was trying to force the ball down the field, threw a couple picks early. I remember watching the first half of that game throughout the entirety, and just Ettiene was there. Screens, dump offs, protection, anything. He would run around, slant routes, like anything in and out of there, he was there. He took the gloves off. It got so wet. Like just he was locked in. But like that's Trevor Lawrence's security blanket, along with having your franchise quarterback have somebody to trust and be there to grow with him. Like it's a great foundation of what they had and they built there. And they're 6-2. Like they're coming.
And
that's another talk.
Another guy too, I like. Who's like one of those guys that's a really good flex option, has been this year's Nico Collins with Houston.
Yeah.
He's been good. They got Tank Dell, who's not bad too. I mean, you're probably never going to – he's probably never going to be in your starting lineup.
No, I've started Tank Dell.
But Nico Collins has been a solid flex.
Oh, he has.
I mean, I don't have him on my team, but – I've played him and I've kept up with him, and he's been like surprisingly. Houston's offense really is not that bad.
No, and it's a rookie quarterback. It's
they really haven't got Dameon Pierce going at all.
He's been a disappointment.
Because last year he just absolutely balled.
Yeah,
he was a workhorse.
Just a lot of wear and tear on him early in his career, like being on a team that isn't good and just force feeding him the football, especially like last season. Year before, like I don't know, it's one of those things where you don't like to see it, but like they had to force feed him. There wasn't any other talent on that team, and it was when Watson wasn't there. Like they were, like I can't even honestly sit back and name the names of who was playing quarterback. Who was playing quarterback when Watson was out? Like who was Houston's quarterback?
Davis Mills.
Davis Mills.
Yeah.
Okay. Gannon, I got a question for you, man, and this is something that's pissed me off for the last 2 to 3 weeks since I made the trade. But I made probably the worst decision I could have made. At the time, it seemed like a great one.
Don't say Christian Watson.
That's where I'm headed.
Oh, God.
I traded Lamar Jackson.
Oh, my God.
For a struggling Trevor Lawrence and Christian Watson. And at the time in my head, I said, okay, I'm fine if Trevor Lawrence gets me 14 to 15 a game, which is about his average for the season. And I had 0 flex. My wide receivers are already Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Mike Evans. I had no flex. So throwing Watson in at my flex seemed like a very good idea. And I figured I'd make up the lost points with Lamar Jackson by getting a solid flex. And obviously,
bro, that's crazy. Coming from and then I'm in a 16-team league, and you have Tyreek,
Yeah.
you have Diggs, and you have Mike Evans.
And a
Is this
12
your,
man.
this is 12?
This is a
Holy
12-man league.
crap.
This is a 12-man league. So talk to
Did
me,
you get
Gannon.
the
What's
double
going on?
pick?
Yeah, no, it's funny
What?
because earlier when I asked biggest disappointments, we just got talking. I didn't even circle back to mine.
What's
But that was
going
my
on?
biggest disappointment is Christian Washington. Two of my three leagues, I got him. I took him to be another guys that were in like that third or fourth round pick area that like I had some, like two wide receivers that I was hoping one of them could really take stride and be like one of the leagues was Calvin Ridley, Christian Watson. Not both like predominantly wide receiver ones, but I was hoping somebody could step up into that role and proceed with it. It has been awful disappointment with it. Injuries, poor play calling, poor quarterback play. Christian Watson, I don't even know what to say when it comes down to this specific because there's nowhere to start. The best thing to start is there's no factor or any, what should I say, initiative to get the ball to Christian Watson at all during the game. Like it's only to throw deep balls. It's no intermediate routes. Like there's no push. He's your first round guy a year ago. Why are we not getting him the ball or making an effort on whatever level it is of the field at certain times? But again, he also can't stay healthy on some of those other types of things, which has been a very big of a disappointment.
Is Romeo Doubs better?
I think Jaden Reed's been the most consistent wide receiver so far this year, in my opinion, production-wise. Romeo Doubs is probably your most consistent pass catcher and who can get open the most, but he's taking all the number one coverages right now because you don't know what you're getting with Christian Watson. He just runs down the field and runs a lot of go routes, like just down the field.
Burning speed, speed.
I do think just not having Rodgers, I mean, I think that's a huge
that's
thing.
what I said, factor of quarterback play, but that's why you do some screens. You get some balls, you get plays under 10 yards. Quick
it's also
stuff
play
out of Jordan.
calling.
Yeah, and I think that's the number one thing to look at here. Obviously, yes, he was hurt early on, but he's been on the field for the last month. The same thing with Luke Musgraves. Been on the field for the entirety of the year, but you haven't seen growth in any of these people. But I don't even see these people getting targets during the games at times.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense to me when then you don't even want to put forth effort to run the ball, but then we're throwing balls down the field on just early downs when we should be picking up some momentum, chewing up some clock because we're not going to be a burning team. We're not going to score 30, 40 points a game on the scoreboard. Like, play to your strengths of what you have because there are strengths there if you utilize them in the right way. Like, this is just the rant of why I keep going back to Matt LaFleur being the issue with all of this. Obviously, you can blame Goot, the GM, on all those different types of personnel moves. 100% I can agree with that to a certain extent. But day in, day out, there are people there to make enough plays on the offensive side. Defense is a different story.
There's more than enough. There
is more than enough. 100%.
Like
on the running, and even when Aaron Jones has been out, you can still run the ball with A.J. Dillon at times. But like the way they utilize A.J. Dillon, and when they have those two backs in there, they'll run Aaron Jones up the middle and then do an HB pitch on the outside of the numbers with A.J. Dillon. Like, well, what sense does that make? You're not playing to these guys' strengths at the end of the day. And with Matt LaFleur and all these offensive coaches and the different rooms he's been in with all these different organizations, I don't understand it. Like,
you want to know what the funniest thing to me is? I don't mean to cut you off, but like Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, those three guys and Musgrave on top of it, youth-wise and overall ability to make a leap in overall growth within the National Football League, these are the best receivers that Rodgers would have had since Jordy Nelson.
Speed has been the biggest lack of issue or lack of their not having there in Green Bay for I don't know how many years. And with Luke Musgraves, Christian Watson, and Jaden Reed, like the speed is there. They can get open on their own. But in certain facets, because when they do get the ball thrown to them, and when they do make some drives, and when they have moved the ball on certain possessions this year, they look good, in my opinion. They do certain things well, but then there's no carbon copy of doing that to stick on that, not coming out running the ball early on in a game when you're already a very bad first half team. Let's throw the ball 3 times early and go 3 and out. Why? Why are we not trying to establish some clock here, some time of possession here? Because our defense can't be out on the field for all those different.
What I really think the key answer, like I know we've kind of transitioned into a Green Bay conversation, but the key answer to honestly unlocking all of this within the Green Bay offense is Aaron Jones.
Yes, 100%.
And has
establishing the run.
Yeah, it is, but not A.J. Dillon.
Yeah,
It
but
isn't
it
with
is.
A.J. Jones.
He's part of it, in my opinion.
He
You got
has
to
to
have
be.
both of them.
No, he has to be part of it. But the key is keeping Aaron Jones on the field and unleashing him and getting the damn football in his hands.
Yeah.
He's the key to unlocking that offense. Like Aaron Jones is a stud back. He's not your ground and pound, sit there and get you 5 yards of carry, but he's a guy who makes your offense elevate. Like, and yes, I know that he's a little bit older now. He's been with the Green Bay for
Yeah, no,
quite
he
some
can hit a
time.
50-yard run when he hits the hole.
Oh, and when he makes a play, he
whenever.
makes a damn play. Like Aaron Jones makes big plays, and that's the type of thing
But
you
you
need to
are
have.
right. Player-wise, it's been the biggest factor.
Well, it's just like, and he's had the
And
injury
AJ Dillon
stuff.
can't do much except run between the. You know, he
Yeah, no, he's
like
not
Gannon
anything
said,
more than that.
he's not supposed to, you know,
Be moving outside the
get a
tackles.
sweep. Yeah, no,
He shouldn't be running outside the
between.
numbers unless he's kickback or a spin move or something that he does on his own to create. There should be nothing outside the tackles for him to run ever.
No, because he can't make a guy miss.
But then on third
he's
down
gonna
and
run
1
him
or third down
over.
and 2, we hand the ball off to Aaron Jones. Why? Why? If we're running between the tackles, there should be no.
That's personnel decision.
But 100%, you establish the run game, and especially Aaron Jones, and that hits the play action and down the field, different types of stuff, guys coming off crossers and post stuff. It'd be a whole different animal. But I just want to see them come out and make an effort on the run in one of these first halves, one of the first couple of drives, and see where it goes from there. It might not establish something.
Yeah. Who do they got the next couple of weeks, team-wise? Who are they playing?
Let me look.
The Rams this week, right?
Yeah, I don't even want to look, bro.
The Rams.
I know you guys got the Rams. I think the Rams will win for sure. I think well, another dude, I don't know if you guys saw this. This is a little off topic, but that
Rams at the Steelers, and then home against the Chargers, and at the Lions, and then home against the Chiefs. Yeah, great stretch.
Yeah, that's tough.
You know, another guy who's honestly impressed me and hasn't impressed me the last few seasons. I mean, he's shown major flashes of potential and what he's capable of doing as a running back, and that's DeAndre Swift in Philadelphia. Like it's just the perfect move that Philly made to go out and get him. Like just a guy who has an insane amount of talent. I just don't ever think that in Detroit that it was going to be something that worked schematically. I don't think he was utilized correctly. I think the way that Philly is typically the majority of the time Philly's in shotgun, a lot of shotgun sets, and that's why like a guy like DeMarco Murray never really worked well when back in the day with Philly when he signed there after having a breakout season in Dallas. Like Murray was your guy who's going to line up behind the quarterback and he's going to run off tackle, and it's been tough for Swift in Detroit. Was never necessarily a recipe for success in my mind, and when you ship him out and send him to Philly, he's just been that perfect 1-2 duo with Hurts. And I think what's made Swift a lot better as a fantasy back in Philadelphia is the threat of Hurts running the football. Like when Swift was there with Goff, like you knew Goff wasn't going to take off. There wasn't really an ability to have to key on the quarterback moving the football with his legs. Now it's like, okay, we got two freaking lethally talented guys. Like you got to be a little bit more tactical. Like you're spying the quarterback with your linebacker. You got possibly a safety coming down just to do a little bit more damage to make sure he doesn't get out of the pocket on some safety blitzes, stuff like that. And Swift's been successful. Like he's a guy I would love to have on my fantasy team right now. He ain't been anything entirely special, but he's a reliable guy. You know he's going to get the football. And no, like
did you guys see who Devontae, they were trying to get in talks with him going where he was going to go?
Who?
Devontae
Adams?
That they didn't come to agreement. New York, the Jets. Bro, imagine next year if Rodgers, because who knows, he could come back this year. Who knows? But
yeah, I just don't see it.
No, but Rodgers.
I just don't know, man.
Rodgers next year, let's just say, I know the Achilles, that's a tough injury to recover from. But imagine if they got Devontae Adams there, bro. That would be got Devontae Adams,
arguably
you
a
got
top
Garrett Wilson,
top 3-4 defense.
Nasty, and that's another dude that's been tough fantasy wise. It's Devontae.
That's been frustrating with him.
That's what I was gonna say was another one for disappointment. Not because of him and his talent, just what this package around him.
It ain't because of him at all.
Just the sheer.
Who do you guys think is not just this year, but maybe last year too. If you had to say who's the one dude that is like the best fantasy guy, any position, but the dude who's like, if you have him in your starting lineup, like you got a chance. Like, is there one guy that you guys think that
Yeah.
like?
Oh yeah, Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill's an automatic answer, and I mean, just looking at Gannon and you, Carter, I know that you could say Christian McCaffrey. Like outside of injury wise, like Christian McCaffrey's right there too. But Tyreek Hill, like legitimately, he's a roster lock where you start him and know you're gonna get 20 points. Like realistically, you're not gonna get less than that. It's just he's a matchup nightmare. He is an unguardable wide receiver.
I think not on the same tier so much as Tyreek, but underneath that fantasy wise is Stephon Diggs. The production every single week.
I would say to me is Travis Kelce because you look at the gap between him and any other tight end. I mean, dude, even this year he's still the number one tight end fantasy wise in my league at least. I know the scoring can be a little bit different, and he hasn't had like a crazy year. But, bro, he's going to get you 12, 13 a game. And he's just like Tyreek is so good. But if you look at the top 5, maybe 3 running back or wide receivers, they're a couple points away.
Yeah.
Like Tyreek, AJ Brown.
Healthy and without off the field stuff, Alvin Kamara's in that conversation also because the ball's in his hand at any time.
Yeah, it's just who gets the football the most. Like who has the most opportunity.
But that's why I think you almost go that wide receiver running back, being able to be a dual guy. You know what I'm saying? Like the Kamara, McCaffreys of the world. Like Saquon's even in there when he's healthy. Obviously, it's a big if and with their quarterback room. But tools-wise, give me that every single day at the end of the day because he could bust for 10 receptions out of the backfield for 100 yards and do the same thing running the ball. I mean, it's that crazy. But yeah, Tyreek Hill's one by himself.
You know what's crazy about Tyreek is like it's like this is it's
effortless. Man.
Not even just like a bold statement, but like Tyreek Hill's not even a wide receiver. Like
he's an athlete.
He's just a freak. Like
an athlete.
He doesn't have to go out there and realistically, I don't know what he does preparation wise, blah blah blah. But Tyreek Hill does not have to go watch film. This is a guy who does not need to go see how he's going to be guarded. I don't care if you double him the entire game. He's too freaking fast. Like he is going to find a way to get open, and he is such a smart freaking football player. IQ wise, he knows where to be at all times. So not even just his burning speed, but if there's simply a play where he's running, say it's a slant and go or just a stop route. Like he knows, and it's crazy because he's done it with 2 different quarterbacks now, both talented guys.
Yeah, and I don't think Tua gets enough credit getting him the ball also at certain times.
Tua's been I honestly when
I got him in all 3 of my leagues.
When that trade went down,
boom.
When Tyreek Hill went to Miami, I expected I expected to see a drop off with Tyreek. I did, and you could argue
I like Tua. Yeah, I didn't. I never had a problem with Tua.
He's been better.
I've always liked him. I've liked him out of Bama.
Like, legitimately, Tyreek Hill has been better in Miami. Like, overall.
Because he's the focal point. He doesn't have Travis Kelce.
No, that's another thing. It's crazy. You mentioned Travis
Kelce. Because when Mahomes, too, you got to remember, like we talked last episode, Mahomes now is at a point where him running, he doesn't look to do that. Remember his first couple of years when he was going off? He ran
break him off. Because everybody just go down the field.
He ran a lot. So not only do you have him running.
Nobody 20 yards away from him.
Yeah. So not only do you have him not running the ball or him running the ball plus Travis Kelce and plus Tyreek still doing what he did at Kansas City, I kind of knew. I'm not going to say, obviously, I have this crystal ball, but I didn't think he would drop off in Miami. I thought it was a huge pickup for them because they were still
it was a huge
really
pickup,
good last year.
Yeah.
You know?
I just can't even believe that trade went down. I still don't necessarily understand the thought process behind it. Like, I don't know why you ship out the best player in America. I mean, like, do you guys have, like, what makes you want to do that?
Well, you've seen how they've got enough people in. It's how they minimize their contracts and stuff. They couldn't afford to pay him. You can't afford to pay him, Kelce, and Mahomes. Like, you just
I get it. I mean, no, you can afford to pay all 3 of them.
And they won.
Like, yes. I get it, but you could
you could pay him, but you can't keep winning. because they've
telling you,
nickeled and dimed the rest of the roster on some of these other moves and how the Chiefs front office manipulates this stuff. They couldn't do that though with another guy. They just couldn't. With
I still
money.
think compared to what they got now, like let's just say if they were able to afford all three, they had Tyreek, Kelsey, Mahomes, and instead of paying a guy like Chris Jones, D lineman, or another defensive,
yeah, but that's what making them good again now is their defense.
It is, but here's the thing: it's like if you have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, and Patrick Mahomes, I don't necessarily care how freakishly good your defense can be. You're going to put up 30 to 40. Like, you're going to put up 30 to 40 just based on those three players out of 11, those three players. Like, if Tyreek Hill was in Chicago this season, and even at the beginning of Fields struggling, the O-line being bad, and even past years of O-line being bad, the Bears, they'd put up points. They would. They would, because defenses strategically would play you entirely different. Like, your goal is to take away Tyreek Hill, which would open up guys like Darnell Mooney in Chicago. Like, that's just the thing.
It's just the trust, though, overall with Pat Mahomes. That was the end of the day. It's the talent, and they're banking on him to be able to get other guys the ball. Like, they felt that he was out of the three, though. Who's the most replaceable?
Yeah.
Tyreek, Travis, and Mahomes.
Yeah. How many years left do you think Kelsey
Who do you
has?
think's the most replaceable
Bro,
of those three?
I didn't know this. Dude, Kelsey's like, I think he's like 33.
Yeah, 32.
34.
Just turned 32.
That's what I'm saying. How
32.
much left has he got?
Bro, I was shocked. I didn't know he was that
I thought he was like
really.
29, 30.
Because you remember Gronk, bro, he retired at like 28, and then he did come back. But like for Kelsey, I mean, tight end is not you're basically an offensive lineman and
the bending over and
you're taking your body is hurting.
And he really hasn't. I mean, you can make an argument he's declined this year, but you really can't at the same time.
I mean, the only reason you could say he's declined
at his standards.
Well, the only reason you could say he's declined is because there's not a freaking weapon that can help him. Like, there's nobody there.
Yeah. He's going to be the best ever. I think that's. I mean, I know people are going to make the argument that he had Mahomes and whatnot, but like.
I don't care. Travis Kelsey's the best tight end of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, him or Gronk, I think.
The most, not even the best, but the most complete. Like, just the most complete on the field. You know what you're getting blocking-wise. You know what you're getting swagger-wise. You know what you're getting receiver-wise.
Gronk looked like he was running with 20-pound dumbbells in his feet compared to Kelsey.
Gronk was slow.
But he'll run you over. They're just two different types of two different types of tight ends.
But give me Kelsey any day over Gronk.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Oh, Kelsey's a stud. Yeah, and that's why I like him in fantasy, because he is night and day. Like, you can throw Tyreek Hill and up to this point, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp. I mean, those guys really, to me, when they're all playing good football, are interchangeable in fantasy. Where you cannot say that with tight end. Like, you could maybe make the argument that Mark Andrews is probably second, but it's pretty night and day. I think between Kelsey and all the rest of the tight ends, there's just a humongous drop off. Where with the receivers, this year Tyreek's clear number one, but at the end of the day, you look at AJ Brown and Diggs and Cooper Kupp. They're kind of interchangeable in my mind. Like, Tyreek may go off more than one. 1 week he might have 40. But tight end wise, Kelsey is so above and beyond the rest of the tight ends fantasy wise.
Yeah. No,
that's why that was back to my point that I think Hill, out of those three,
I agree,
most replaceable, and that's why he's gone.
Isn't it a crazy feeling to realize that, I mean, just based off Kelsey's age and based off the statements that Tyreek has said about retiring early and being not having his career go much longer. Like, he even came out and said it. He said if Miami doesn't want him back, then he might just be done. And, like, it's crazy to think that two of the top players in the National Football League, Travis Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, could be done within the next 2 to 3 years. Like,
what's his contract, Tyreek's?
I don't know, but, I mean, the way he made it sound, it's like...
It's only got like 2 or 3 more years left, if that, on the contract. It was he only signed like a 5 year. It was like 5 years for 2 something, wasn't it?
I don't even remember, honestly.
I'm pretty sure.
They have to... Like, they don't have long with this team, I don't feel like. I feel like this team was, like, thrown together
Miami?
to go win right now. Yes.
Yeah.
So like I think they need to get. I mean, they have a great shot this year,
100%.
but I just think they need
They
to
do have a
because their
really damn
defense
good
is
shot.
atrocious. Really,
Ramsey back helps a little bit.
Ramsey back
Well,
does
they're
help,
gonna
but
get Xavier and Howard back too.
Yeah.
They got the two of the top 10 best DBs in the National Football League. Like their defense is gonna be fine, and your offense is gonna score points. They can compete against anybody.
Yeah.
100%.
And I honestly, right now, like they're a team that like out of the AFC. I mean, with the way the Chiefs are playing, pretty inconsistent. And like that Denver loss was embarrassing. But I mean, Miami looks like that favorite right now. Like,
I think they're getting redemption this week, though. I
Give me
got
the
Kansas
Chiefs.
I'm
City
waking
this
up. I
week.
got the alarm set in the morning because I'm getting up for that.
shoot, man. Oh my, we got some firepower.
This is the first time I've been happy being on the East Coast for the Eastern Standard Time because it's at 9:30 and not 8:30 in the morning. But
Yeah, we're gonna
we do get an extra hour
record.
of sleep.
We're gonna record a separate episode talking about power rankings as far as team goes. But I want to talk about just real quick. This episode, I mean, this is pre-recorded. It's not going to come out in time for these matchups. But like, let's talk about some of these matchups that we have in Week 9. We have Dallas, Philadelphia. I mean,
Philly.
not. I mean, forget who's winning. But let's just
Philly.
seriously, let's think about these matchups. Dallas, Philadelphia,
It's the worst one out of the group you're going to
Miami, Dolphins, Chiefs, Seahawks, Ravens.
That's tough.
Seahawks, Ravens is another tough one.
Bills, Bengals.
Bills, Bengals.
It's the best week so far, matchup wise.
And you could argue, I mean, the Monday night game isn't that bad. Chargers, Jets. Like those are two teams that I mean, the Chargers are three.
Wilson.
The Chargers are 3-4. The Jets are 4-3. But
Buden-
like,
I think Zach's gonna.
Buden has to watch Zach Wilson. That's his QB1, baby.
Yeah, for this week, I think Zach Wilson. I think I could move the ball against the Chargers defense. I mean, they're atrocious.
the
Like,
Chargers just aren't. They're
The
not.
Bears
well
could have
coached.
put up 25 plus. I mean,
Brandon
Valen-
Staley's not a. He's not
no,
the
he's
guy.
gonna be
He's not
done,
the. He's
bro.
not the guy for the Chargers. I mean, I wouldn't even say he's going to be done because they've kept him around longer than he probably should have been around already. Like, I don't know. You know, that's a
but
whole
this
different.
is
We got
this is
a
gonna be a
week of
tough
football.
week.
Yes, good week.
Damn,
And
that
I-
game is at what is it? 8:30 Central Time tomorrow.
Yeah, but do get an extra hour of sleep with daylight savings. So there you
Yeah.
go.
true.
Yeah.
I do think that Kansas City's going to win that game.
Carlos is not waking up till at least after second half.
No, I'll be up. I gotta watch that game. That's some star power.
Dude, there's no way.
You know what? I will say though, I heard this. This was talked about earlier in the week. I get it. We want to do these games overseas and stuff, but the NFL robbed us of the opportunity of having a homecoming of Tyreek back in Kansas City. Like
That would have
legitimately.
been tough.
That
But they're
would've been
doing a
sick.
game next week in Germany too.
No, don't get me wrong. Those games are sick. Like it's really dope that we're transcending and having
Yeah,
the
no, I hear
outreach
you,
of the
I hear
game.
you.
And
I don't
those
know,
fans
bro.
deserve it. Like it sucks. Could you imagine being a team like if we lived overseas? Could you imagine just knowing in your head that more often than not you're not going to get to see your favorite team play? Like
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool for
Come
that.
to
But no, I hear
America,
you. That
baby.
would have been awesome seeing Tyreek.
Come to the United States.
come watch.
You know what I mean? But you could say that about any sport. I mean, that other
But
than
everything,
soccer,
everything now in sports business and the sports management world and all that is globalized. Like, there's no domestic here.
Are we
It's
going to
all
have
here
a
in the
overseas
States.
like? Do you think there'll be an overseas NFL team?
Yeah, there'll be
within
an
the
expansion league. In
within
my,
the next?
I don't know.
my opinion.
Well, they've already expansion wise. They've talked about the NBA adding. They're at 30 teams right now, right? NBA.
well,
they talked about getting
technically
two
they
more.
do with Toronto.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But they've talked about adding 2 more teams to get it to 32. Like,
Yeah.
and like
I don't know, dude, because I think when you play in Germany or where else did they play this year? London. Like you got to think how that's
travel
like
is the
that's
travel.
a travel thing, and then
That's why I don't think it's
Jacksonville-
feasible unless you have a satellite league over there that ends up having
Well,
like
bro,
a
and
winner
then
or something.
Jacksonville was there for like a week or
Yeah.
something crazy. Like, so that does play a part when you
they're
go there to
they're
travel.
they're trying to do a lot within these leagues. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like the NBA in-season tournament is stupid. I think it's dumb. I saw some interview the other day. I don't know if it was a Bulls or Raptors player, but like they just straight up asked him, they're like, how do you feel about the in-season tournament? Like, you excited for it? Like, what's going through your mind? And his response was like, to be honest with you guys, I don't know what's going on. Like, just straight up said, like, I have no clue what this is. He said, I checked the schedule and saw a trophy next to the game. And he said, I thought we played for the trophy in July. It's like I get it. You're
Isn't
trying to
MLB
spice
doing
things up.
something like that now too?
I don't
Does
know.
the MLB have? I don't know. I'm thinking of the playing, like those playing games
Yeah,
too.
that's the postseason
But-
wild card stuff.
You know, the one thing that I wish would change. This is off topic, but real quick is like
Well, this
the
is all
college
off
football,
topic. We've kind
the
of pranced
college
away.
football playoff.
They need to
I-
expand that.
But they did, bro. It didn't used to be like this.
I mean, it's dope, but 4 teams sucks. Like,
And then
give
you know
some more teams an
Alabama's going to get
opportunity.
in there with even Alabama could have 3 losses, and they'd be in.
Can't we just have like an 8-team playoff? Like an 8-team, either that or like somehow play it so like we can have the number 1 and 2 teams get a bye. Like, I just there's got to be a way. Like, I don't know, and I think this is the big reason why I never got into college football when I was younger, was I just didn't like the bowl games. Like, I didn't see the value in the bowl games, and I know that it's brilliant and awesome for all the schools, money wise, just outreach wise as a school. But I mean, I sure as hell would rather be going to the playoffs and competing for a national championship rather than being in the Southern Mayonnaise Hawaii Bowl, like whatever.
It's hard, bro, because in college, if you lose 2 games,
It's so
you're
different than the
basically
NFL.
done.
No, I get it, and that I
You
mean
know?
that's the competition element of it that is loved by fans nationwide. Like, that's why it's remained 4 teams, because you're right, and it's not something that I've thought a whole lot about. But no, you're damn right. Like you legitimately have to be all in on your season the entire year. You lose one player, a key player, you probably don't make the playoffs if you lose 1 or 2 games then. And no, you guys
2
are exactly
games.
right.
If you lose 2 games,
Dude, that Notre Dame loss this weekend. Whew. Whew.
yeah, we lost. We did lose to Clemson. Sam Hartman threw 2 interceptions.
Ooh.
I
That's
don't
just
know.
crazy.
Once we lost to
That's
Ohio
crazy.
State, that's what happens in Notre Dame every year, bro. We're really good, and then all of a sudden we lose a game, and then it's just like downhill from there.
Yeah.
Like, we'll lose, and then we're done. Like, we lost to Ohio State, had a good game, then Duke
The
almost
Duke
beat
game.
us,
Yeah, that Duke game.
and then
was
we get
dumb.
blown out pretty much by Louisville. It's like we just have these big ebbs and flows. We just cannot seem to make it over that.
Yeah. No,
Over
but
that hump.
I agree. Great conversation tonight. We just got in a little bit of a rambling mode. Gannon looks tired. I know it's Eastern time for him in Florida,
Put a ball
so
on it.
he's probably sitting here ready to hop in that thing right behind him. But anyway, we appreciate you guys tapping in. It was a fun, exciting episode. Fantasy football has been fantastic this year. Excited to keep chipping away. Another episode down with Carter, Gannon, and myself. We will catch you guys next time.